Brisbane City, one of the greatest cities in Australia, has an extremely dynamic journalism industry which impacts the lives of many in the Brisbane community and around Queensland. The G20 conference is to be held here in November, bringing together the largest economies from around the world and pinpointing Brisbane on the world map. Brisbane hasn't been in this kind of spotlight since Expo 88, which did its part to put Brisbane on the map as a wonderful tourist destination or place to call home. G20 is an even larger event, and the city has been preparing for a long time with the media to cover the event extensively. So, what is to become of the journalism industry in Brisbane after this huge event? Let's firstly take a look at a relatively new publication in Brisbane that has established itself as one of the leading sources of news in the city and as a game changer in the industry as a whole. Brisbane Times changed the game in not only our city, but the whole of Australia by being the first major media publication which targeted a specific geographical location to establish themselves as a news publication which operated solely online. Launched in March 2007, the Brisbane Times began with a staff of 14 journalists accompanied by high-profile bloggers whose purpose was to establish an innovative news project which appealed to the 18 to 34-year-old demographic. In just its first year, it was extremely competitive in the market, reaching 400,000 users per month and almost maintaining pace with the Courier Mail, exhibiting the power of the company. Today, the Brisbane Times is considered a success and is still seen as a true competitor, if not the superior news company in Queensland. In 2014, they won the award for Best Online Journalism at the Clarion Awards. This was due to their House of Power project, covering the 2013 election by providing a public platform to hear a debate from the most interesting electorates in the state, which was in front of a live audience but also blogged in real time on their website. Brad Turner, an Australian print journalist and lecturer at the University of Queensland, with years of experience that began in 1972 as a copy boy for News Limited, has seen the industry grow, change, and transform into what it is today. An industry expert and mentor with a multitude of knowledge behind him, let's look at what Brad has to say about the unpaved and ultimately uncertain future of journalism. With your years of experience in print journalism, where do you see the future for the industry?
Well, it's a long. We're in what's going to be a long period of change, and the thing about that period is no one really knows. People kind of got a rough idea when it started, which is when it became financially and economically and practically viable to deliver over the net. So we know when it started, but we don't know when the period of change is going to really finish, and we don't really know how it's going to play out. But my firm belief has been for quite some time is that you can't look at you can't look at the journalism, you can't look at the media, the actual product, without looking at how it's going to be delivered. Who would have told any of us 10 or 15 years ago that we were going to be running around looking at our hands all the time to get information about things that we need to know? We couldn't have predicted that. We've seen more recently whether or not it turns out to be a goer, the Google glasses, watches, all sorts of things. It's really impossible to know what the future holds, because the future of information delivery, or the future of information, as much relies on the mode by which it's delivered as the information itself. And so while we have a sort of a parallel thing happening at the moment where a lot of development is going into delivery of information on the things that we have now, and our phones, our tablets, our laptops, computers, any other portable device that we can imagine, there's also, in concert with that, a hell of a lot of work going into the technology by which we might receive information. So these things, will they have an end game? Or will the evolution just continue to the point where it's always in a state of flux? I really don't know. I've got no big answers about the future of journalism or of the media and so forth, except for whatever answer there is going to be tied to what it's delivered on.
Public involvement and immediacy are two of the most important aspects of modern journalism, and this is likely to be the way the future will go. An increasing use and interest in the public has already begun, with most major news outlets incorporating comment spaces, live blogs, forums, Twitter, and crowdsourced photos or videos in their publications. One can only assume that this will become more and more prevalent in the industry because it generates more interest and will only become increasingly easier as technology develops. Even experts find it difficult to predict what the future might hold for journalism, but what we do know is that it's an incredible industry that continues to transform for the better.